Do the trashy pulp novels of the world have anything to offer? Are bestsellers all they're hyped up to be? The Terrible Book Club explores whether or not you really can judge a book by its cover or its ridiculous synopsis. If you've ever seen a book and thought, ugh, who's reading this? We probably are.
Hello and welcome to episode 68 of the Terrible Book Club. I'm Chris and this is Paris.
Hello.
This time we read The Skeleton Haunts a House by Leigh Perry. It's book 3 in the Family Skeleton Mystery series. So we're jumping in right in the middle here. Or
yep.
Maybe seems like the middle of the series.
Yeah, we sure did. So if this is your first time listening to the show, what we do here at the Terrible Book Club is we read books that we assume will be bad based on their cover, title, summary, or some combination of the three. So we read books that we would never read under normal circumstances. Usually this experiment results in a disappointing read, but once in a while we end up liking the book. This time, we read The Skeleton Haunts a House by Leigh Perry, as Chris just described. This was published in 2015, and it was recommended to us by my former coworker and current friend, Kristina. So thank you for the recommendation, Kristina, and for being so patient with us, since you recommended this, 2 years ago. So,
we'll get to stuff eventually. We'll get to it.
Yeah, if you're not a patron, the wait time is approximately 2 years. It's kind of how this goes. So yeah, thanks for recommending this. It was definitely just really bizarre. I saw this and I was like, yeah, we'll read that. It looks insane. Great.
Paris, can I ask you, what makes it a family skeleton?
Because it's about a family with a skeleton.
But he's he's a nice skeleton, I guess, is what they're really getting at here.
Right.
Because he's a wholesome family skeleton as opposed to all those other unwholesome skeletons.
Yes.
Which is, I guess, a perfect segue into our content warnings.
Yes. So in addition to our classic, barnyard language here at Terrible Book Club, we'll be discussing bones. A lot of bones.
Is that necessary for...
Sometimes I just don't fucking know anymore, and I just err on the side of extreme caution. So, we're going to talk about bones, skeletons,
okay, yeah, a lot
murder,
of bone puns.
Online bullying, and we'll briefly touch upon a statement involving Rachel.
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you, I have a lot of prejudgments about people named Rachel.
Racial prejudice, and the use of the word handicap. That's just in the text, so just figured I'd let people know that was not our choice. It is in the text. We're going to discuss it. Anyhow, this is the summary for The Skeleton Haunts a House. What holiday could bring more warmth to a skeleton's chest cavity than Halloween? And when you're a living skeleton who's not supposed to be seen outside the house, it's a welcome chance to get some fresh air and rub bony elbows with people. That's why Sid doesn't mind wearing a full-body dog suit and going as Scooby-Doo along with Georgia Thackeray's Velma to the Halloween Howl. Sid can't wait to go through the haunted house, but he gets rattled for real when a genuine dead body is discovered. Trapped inside as the police quickly seal off the crime scene, Sid makes no bones about dropping the dog suit and posing as an actual skeleton. This murder is a skull scratcher, but as long as Sid is on the inside, he might as well case the joint to figure out who used the cover of darkness to commit the perfect crime.
It wasn't really a perfect crime.
No,
it was just a crime.
It was a weird crime. All right, so as the summary suggests, Sid is one of our main characters here. He's a fucking living skeleton.
Just a bunch of bones that walk around with sentience. Listen. You just have to accept this. This is just a thing you have to accept when you're walking into this book. We're coming in here book 3, so I'm sure maybe something was outlined in the first couple books about why this is possible. But this is a skeleton that can think, speak without the necessary organs to speak, see without the necessary organs to see, hear, etc., etc.
His body also can disassemble and reassemble at will. He holds his cell phone in his skull, things like that. It's pretty silly. It's very cartoonish. They allude, in this book, to So they kind of give you some explanation. I guess he was at a carnival or something, and like Georgia, the main character, when she was a child, she was like in danger, and he was somehow brought to life because he needed to save a child. I don't know. They didn't give a clear explanation, but
first of all,
I don't know.
First of all, this carnival had a real skeleton as a prop.
Yes, it did. I don't know. They cover, I think in the first book, they investigate his murder, but, we're in book 3, so fuck it. I don't know. Just accept the skeleton.
There's other things to discuss besides that. Just live in that world with us.
Yeah, the living fucking skeleton is a sidekick in this whole thing.
Really? I would consider him a protagonist.
I mean, Georgia Thackeray is really the main character.
Yeah, but Sid's doing most of the work.
That's true. We can talk about that once we get to the characters. So Georgia Thackeray is an adjunct English professor, and a single mom who has been friends with a fucking living skeleton since she was a child somehow.
Yeah, just like for 20 years has had this skeleton in her life.
No, longer than that. She's supposed to be, I think, in her 40s, so probably for about 40 years. Madison
Sid mentions he's known her for 20 years.
Oh, I'm sorry. I must have misunderstood. Madison is Georgia's college-age daughter. Deborah is Georgia's sister. She operates the haunted house on campus because she's some kind of like security professional or something.
It mentions she's a locksmith. That's what her job is, but then that somehow translates into running a haunted house for a university / the rich family that does scholarship-y stuff for the university. Yeah, it's one of the many things that you're just supposed to accept in this book that I'm like, okay, whatever.
Phil Thackeray is Georgia and Deborah's dad, Madison's grandfather. He's also a professor. So is their mom. I don't even remember their mom's name. I didn't write her down as a character.
She doesn't... because she's referred to as mom all the time, it's not really brought up a lot. It's kind of irrelevant. She's just mom.
Anyway, Brownie Maddox is George's love interest. He is an adjunct professor / carny. That was another one that was
multi-classing in this D&D thing.
What the fuck would that multi-class even be? Like bard and wizard or something?
Probably no. That's probably just straight up bard, but just like with 2 different subclass specialties.
Anyway, Kendall is the girl who's fucking dead.
She's the dead body.
She's the dead body found in the haunted house. Linda is another student. There's 3 other girls who know Linda and Kendall who factor into the mystery, yada yada. There's the carnies, such as Soda Pop and Treasure Hunt, who are brownies.
Are these nicknames
family
from Contra again?
It sounds like it, huh? There's Roxanne, who's a grad student of George's mom.
Thackeray.
Mom Thackeray is a grad student. And there's also the McQuaid family members. So the McQuaids are the rich people that I don't know if they own the university's named after them. And the haunted house happens inside of this building that belongs to the McQuaid family. There's 4 sisters, a long lost brother, and then Alexis, who is college age. So Alexis, Linda, the 3 other friends, Kendall, George's daughter Madison, they're all like the same age. They're all, I don't know, 19, 20 or something.
Yeah, all right, so those are generational thing happening here with like 3 tiers of generations.
Yeah, so those are all the characters. Somehow we're fucking trapped in New England. We just cannot get a spooky book that doesn't take place in fucking Massachusetts or New England.
Every like wholesome mystery book out there just takes place in our state, I guess. Are there a lot of wholesome mysteries going on that I don't hear in the news or something, where it's like, oh, someone got killed, but this very homely professor / sleuther solved it with the help of her family?
No, not mysteries, Chris. All the scary books always take place in Mass or New England.
True, that too.
That's what I meant.
So what do you think is so scary about New England that draws all these authors here?
I don't know, fucking seasons, spooky. I don't know.
It's just the weather is nonstop changing.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's a lot of like people think about New England as spooky because it was the first area that was settled. Therefore, in this area, it's where like most of the oldest houses are. Therefore, like the older something is, the spookier people believe it becomes because they think more things die in and around it. I don't know. I'm sure that someone has written many a thesis on this and given more eloquent points as to why. But in any case, we can't escape where we live because this book clearly takes place in Massachusetts in like a fictional
They mention
area.
Like Waltham and shit in here.
Yep,
so.
in Brandeis and stuff, yeah. So basically, the summary gives you the first, I don't know, like quarter of the book where the skeleton's like, sick, it's Halloween time, I can like wander around outside, I don't have to be trapped in the attic, because the skeleton usually just lives in the attic and is online all day, just loves the internet.
Is unsleepingly on the internet at all times. Imagine how much more internet you can get into your brain when you don't have to sleep. That can't be good for his mental. Actually, he's probably one of the most like stable people mentally. Person. He's a human being.
He's a person. You can be a person and not a human. That's fine.
Sure. Yes. Exactly. So, but he's like, honestly, Sid is my favorite part of this book. He's the entertaining part of this book.
All right. Well, that's how you feel.
Wait. You disagree? I'm not saying he's like this book is a lot of fun. I'm saying that out of all the stuff happening in this book, Sid is the thing that I latched onto as like, oh, okay, I get a chuckle here and there out of his dialogue.
Okay. Yeah. Whatever.
Really just not offering anything.
Yeah, no, because I just want to get through the plot bones. Oh, God. And then we can talk. A
lot of bone puns in the book anyway, so you're just on brand.
On brand, yeah. So, Sid's like, yeah, you can go outside. He puts on the Scooby-Doo costume. Georgia dresses up as Velma. They go into the haunted house.
Hell yeah.
Chris has like a weird thing for...
I like Velma.
Ugh, Chris, this is disturbing. We're gonna move on. We're just gonna forget that happened.
She's cute and intelligent. What's wrong with that?
It's fine. It's fine. Let's just not elaborate on it at all.
Moving past every comment I make this episode.
Yep, just tired. So, during the haunt, Kendall, this young girl, is found dead. She's like bashed in the head with a baseball bat or something. Somehow, during like a zombie chase scene, this is a very
it's dark in the haunted house, and the people trip over a dead body. They think it's part of the whole thing, and then someone realizes, oh no, that's literally a dead girl.
Yeah, like I guess it made sense because in that particular area of the haunt, it was like a zombie attack chase scene. So there were zombies chasing people, and yeah, like a dead body on the floor is gonna go unnoticed for the most part, but I guess one of the staff was like, wait, there's not supposed to be a dead body there. And so they stopped the haunt. The police talked to everyone, and of course the police are going to interview everyone and ask them to take off any obscuring clothing because it's a murder investigation. So Sid is like, shit, I can't take off my Scooby-Doo outfit or they're going to know I'm a fucking skeleton.
Yeah, big problem, big issue.
So he takes off, he like somehow gets out of the Scooby-Doo costume and like just makes himself part of the set dressing as a skeleton. But once everyone else is released, they still have questions for people, and like Georgia too, and Georgia's just like, shit, I don't know what I'm gonna say, like they're gonna find out, this is gonna be weird. Of course,
I walked in with the Scooby-Doo, people saw me, they're gonna be asking about who is in the Scooby-Doo costume.
Yeah, and then they find the Scooby-Doo costume abandoned, and Dadus Ex Machina comes on the scene. So Phil Thackeray, George's dad, literally just appears out of nowhere right as she's about to get questioned by the police and is like, I came back from my sabbatical early, and that was me in the Scooby-Doo costume. I just borrowed it, and then I took it off and came out, and then
I guess someone took it.
I guess someone took it. Well, when I got out of it, it was just this like weird fucking cockamamie story that he wove like on the spot, and the cops are just like, yeah, okay, that's fine. It just didn't make any sense. He was like, yeah, we came back because my wife's grad student is having an emergency, so we returned from sabbatical. It just seemed like a weird choice to have that be the way that they got out of that predicament. I just don't think that that would work.
I think something else like this happens in the other like sort of wholesome mystery book we read, the Murder Gone Awry thing. I think it's just like, you set up an opening scene with some tension, so the reader wants to go on, and then you just have something come out of the blue to save them at first is kind of a classic move in these things.
I think it's bad writing.
Yeah, it's not exactly. Well, this kind of does set, because the grad student that they came back for becomes relevant later on, so that's a little bit of pre-spicing the dish.
Well, yeah, but I think that I just think that they could have come up with the author could have come up with a more plausible explanation, or this person could have just been fucked and they could have been a prime suspect, and it would have been maybe more interesting that way.
Yeah, I can agree with there. If it was just Georgia that was sort of under suspicion at first, it would have been more tense than just dicking around with witnesses for like 150 pages.
Yeah. This book definitely suffers from fucking SVU syndrome, where they go through like 9 different possible assailants, and it's it's really like the second person that they introduce.
Wait, does that make Sid Ice-T?
No, but
who would he be then?
No, I think it does, because Ice-T is always making bad puns and bad jokes.
Yeah, he's the quippy one. That's why I said
you're right.
that.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. And at first you don't really understand, like, the relationship between Georgia and the skeleton. And she's like, there's this weird point where, she's like, oh, I loved kissing Sid. It reminded me of kissing my car. And I was like, what?
First of all, yeah, that's 2 things that are weird to kiss.
Yeah.
So I guess it's an apt analogy.
Kissing a living skeleton, like not on the, I won't say lips, but not on the
teeth.
Teeth. But it was like affection, like platonic brother-sister affection.
On the top
the head
of his
or something.
skull.
Right. And she's like, it reminds me of kissing my car. And I was like, what?
I guess she really liked that first car that she got. Can I, a quick aside here. One thing I would like to sort of applaud this book with is having a platonic male-female relationship that's just, 2 buds hanging out doing stuff.
Yeah, that's true. I do think that that's good. I agree.
I suppose it's a little sort of, not tainted, but, it's not as good as it could be since they grew up as, I guess, brother and sister in a way.
Right.
Didn't
But,
really grow up, I guess, either. They lived alongside each other. But still, it's nice to have this sort of male... And I guess it's not like she could do anything with Sid, because he doesn't have... Despite being bones, he can't get a boner. Which is...
Yeah, thankfully. Yeah,
although Sid still... I'm sorry to keep interrupting you, but I'm just, like, teasing this out more and more. Sid still, like, enjoys women, doesn't he?
What?
He seemed to remember him making an aside about, like, I still like how this person looks or something.
I don't remember that happening.
I could be confusing that with some other character or whatever, but, like, I'm just curious if Sid is, like, because he's a skeleton, he's just beyond all that stuff now, and he's just on the internet all the night for not porn, which is an astounding achievement, I suppose.
I mean, unless he's one of those people who can, like, think themselves off. We've talked about this on the show before,
oh, yeah.
Right? So, I mean, if that's... he's been dead for a long time. He's had a lot of time to practice. Maybe he can. I don't know. But
even though he doesn't have the necessary organs for that.
No, but the other thing I also was grateful for, like, I would have been more grateful if there had been no love story, but there is, like, a very tiny little seed of, like, a romance in this book, but it's very in the background. They don't spend a lot of time on it, and I really appreciated that. It was very quick. Like, Georgia likes Brownie, the carny professor.
Yeah, so later on in the book, she hooks up with him in his, like, carny trailer, which is...
yeah, she does.
It's like this wholesome moment of, like, oh, I found this guy that I really like, and he's such a nice dude, but, like, I can't get the image of, like, y'all bone down in a carny trailer. That's...
Hey, man, whatever area is available sometimes.
If you really like someone, doesn't matter what your surroundings are.
Exactly, right? Very, very good. There are some things I didn't like in this book. Well, let me get through the things that I thought were fine. Yeah. I did actually feel like the dialogue was mostly fine. I mean, sure, it's full of a lot of dumb bone puns, like, but...
Oh, coccyx.
Yeah, there's this weird convention in the book where Georgia explains that when she first met Sid, when he first came back to life or whatever, he swore a lot. And because he was because he was around Georgia and her sister when they were young, he had to learn to stop swearing. So he would just replace every swear with bones. And then the girls started doing it too. So yeah, there's like, oh, coccyx and oh, fun femurs. And
piece of sacrum, which is a really unwieldy way to call someone a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Also, does that mean in the first book, Sid was just like, all these motherfuckers, I'm going to catch them?
I fucking hope so, but I don't think so. And so...
It is a family skeleton mystery, after all.
So that was odd. I will say there was no grammatical or spelling errors. The sentences read really easily. They're simple. There's nothing too fancy going on, but, easy to page through. I will say it looked like it was, edited at least. It was coherent. But yeah, there was one of the things that really bugs me about the book is Georgia talks about her struggles of being the struggles of being an adjunct professor. And while I agree that it is quite a struggle to be an adjunct professor, she lives in her parents' house rent-free with her daughter, and both of her parents are professors, and they are very well off. So
I mean, there's like a paragraph where she's like, I don't want to take advantage of my parents. And, I move out if they wanted me to. And of course, if you were in her position and that was offered to you, why wouldn't you do it? But then to turn around and be like, oh, I have to deal with this office that I share with a lot of other people, the torture. Meanwhile, when her boyfriend is living in a trailer and she has a coworker that is was living just in empty classrooms.
Yeah. She has a friend who was living in her parents' office while they were on sabbatical, because he had nowhere to live.
And she's complaining about, like, how bad she has it.
Yeah, so it's like, look, I do understand the plight of the adjunct professor. Like, the track to academia is riddled with poverty and misery, and I get that, but she seems to be in a particularly comfortable situation, so it's kind of hard to feel any sympathy for her.
Like,
and
her
it kind of
daughter
comes
isn't
off
a
as
handful.
shitty.
Her daughter, like, takes care of herself at this point.
Yep.
Even though she mentions her daughter is like a weeb offhand, but she doesn't give off that vibe at all ever, except for when her mom mentions it to her new carny boyfriend.
Yeah, that was also strange. Yeah, so there's a lot of, like, instead of showing and developing a character, there's just a lot of, like, telling,
That's definitely the major issue here.
Yeah, so instead of running through like 12 different fucking suspects, like, maybe flesh out your main characters, and then I would give a shit about this whole thing. Anyway, there's other stuff, like, if the skeleton is supposed to be such a secret, they seem pretty cavalier about him having a phone and texting and being on the internet and taking online courses, and it's like, if anyone just used a fingernail to scratch the surface of this, they would find out about this fucking living skeleton. It just like doesn't make sense to me.
Also, they have this kind of advantage of having a living skeleton that they could use in so many interesting ways, and the only way Sid is ever used is like a sentient bug, like eavesdropping device. That's all he's ever used for, is just stuff his skull in a bag and leave the bag there, and he could listen in. No one ever questions the fact that Georgia and her sister are just leaving bags everywhere.
Yeah. They basically just put his head in a purse all the time, and like his head and a hand with his phone, so he can communicate with them while listening. It's
just like a missing.
So
like,
weird.
There's so many other things you could probably come up with for that. And I guess the other thing is so they can have the comedy moments of, like, they zip up the bag on him when he's being too yappy or something.
Yeah. There's this other thing. This is the part with the the phrases I mentioned in the content warning. So there's a section pretty early in the book where Georgia is talking about Linda, who is a character that has some relevance later. She's a student. And this is the quote. I don't remember all of my ex-students, let alone their papers, but Linda had been attentive and enthusiastic with a fabulous head of red hair, and her haunted house essay had stood out in a sea of bland personal experience papers about overcoming handicaps, being bullied, and racial prejudice. And I was like, wait, what?
Why
you're saying people with real difficult trying experiences are bland, and the haunted house essay somehow trumped things like racial prejudice, bullying, and having some kind of disability? Like, what the fuck?
As a person with a disability, I felt a little bit discounted there.
Yeah,
especially since I've kind of used that before as a college essay, so
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that sentence was weird. I was like, ooh, that was a bad choice. Like, she could have said, and it happens twice in the book. There's another sentence later where she kind of states the same thing again, and I was like, Jesus, dude, don't fucking say that. That's awful. Like, I could see, there's such an easier way to put that without being shitty to people.
Yeah,
she could have just said, I remembered her haunted house essay. It was original. No one else had ever written about that before.
Yeah, like, why do you have to throw in all this stuff about, like, these fucking people dealing with, like, real-world problems? I keep hearing about it all the time. Fuck them. Like, maybe there's something you could dig deeper into there as an English professor or a writing professor.
Yeah, and if she wanted to say, you know, oh, I'm tired of all these people writing these essays that clearly aren't genuine, that would have been fine, because I think that some people do definitely embellish or even straight up lie when they have to write stuff like that.
Sure.
But
that's not how it's put.
No, it's not at
put
all.
as just, I can't believe I have to hear about this person's disability.
Yeah, it's pretty dumb. Yeah, then my other question is, like, so throughout this, you might be wondering, like, why is this adjunct professor involved in this murder mystery? Like, why are she and the skeleton investigating a murder? I don't know. It's just their hobby. They do as
really
a family.
Just like their side hobby thing. And at first, George's sister Deborah is kind of like, I don't know, this has happened on my watch. And then the cops come in and they start suspecting the Scooby-Doo angle. So Deborah's justification is like, oh, I don't think they're going to get it right, so I want you and Sid on the case. Which is a little thin.
Yeah, and like, I just don't know why everyone's encouraging this and she was like, oh, it's fine. My family will, like, help with my grading while I'm working on this investigation. I was like, what?
And they're, like, in a race with the cops. Sid and Georgia are, like, excited when they get, like, one up on the cops and they know more than them. Like, why hide that stuff? I don't get it. Why do you have to be the one to solve the mystery first?
Yeah, it is really odd. I
guess
don't
because
know.
Sid uses some questionable methods, like hacking into Facebook accounts and whatnot, and then you have to explain,
except he says it's not hacking; he just guesses passwords, which I do appreciate the distinction. But
yeah, I guess that's, you can't admit that evidence, can you? But you can still, you bring it to the cops and be like, here's a thing to look into from your own angle, like parallel construction, right?
Yeah, I guess I don't really know. Yeah, and again, I feel like if anyone even just blew the thin surface layer of dirt off of this fucking skeleton conspiracy, you would see that there was something going on there.
Like if anyone ever came over the house and asked, like, what's up with this computer in the attic?
Yeah, and who's this person signed up for this online class? Who's this person on your fucking family phone plan? Who's this person you're texting all the time? Like,
yeah,
it's just not, it's very thinly veiled. And yeah, so basically they just solve the mystery through the power of the internet.
Yeah.
Is what happens.
They question, there's a couple of, like, false leads, SVU style. At first, Linda actually gets arrested as having committed the murder because a pair of bloody gloves are found in her dorm room. And that's enough for the cops, I suppose.
Yeah, they find these bloody gloves in her dorm room, and she gets arrested immediately because the blood is, from Kendall from the scene. But
in this harrowing scene where she's arrested while she's helping Mom Thackeray and Roxanne, the grad student that Mom Thackeray came back to help, with, like, Roxanne's research paper, because Roxanne's just so tightly wound about her research paper. She's been doing this for, like, 5 years or something.
Or, like, 10 years, or I don't know, some absurd amount of time.
And finally, the professor in charge of that thing has had enough of her shit, and the deadline's really coming up, and like, Roxanne
she's gotten an extension multiple times for her thesis, so that's the setting here, and she's on her last one. So she only has a couple months to finish this, and Linda is really good with data. So she's just trying to, like, organize all of the data involved in the research. I honestly don't even remember what the research was.
Isn't that the whole point of, like, wouldn't that be most of the work of doing a dissertation? So Roxanne is just pawning that off? No.
I think, well, again, I don't think they ever even tell us what the fuck it's about. Or maybe they did. Oh, yeah, it was like a language thing.
Yeah, it's very briefly mentioned and not really dug into that much, except for Roxanne's kind of scatterbrained about it, and she has to have Linda around to do statistical analysis.
Yes. So, anyhow, so Linda's the first suspect. Then they think it's Alexis, who is a McQuaid, and they think the McQuaids might be involved in the murder at the haunted house because the haunted house takes place in a old McQuaid mansion, and, like, basically, if the university stops using the building for any reason, it, like, goes back to the family, and the only thing they use it for is this haunted house thing in the fall. So there's, like, this preliminary theory that the McQuaids are behind it, and they find out that Alexis did send Linda the glove, or somebody sent Alexis the gloves. Was that
to
what
make
happened
her,
in the mail?
to make her plant them on Linda. Specifically, it was requested, I believe.
God, honestly, I don't really remember at this point. But anyway, it's just a red herring, like all of the initial suspects are. Eventually, after they go through everyone, Sid guesses everyone's Facebook passwords, basically, and finds out that Kendall, the girl who died, and 3 of her friends, was Alexis included in that? Yeah, Alexis, Kendall, and 2 other girls whose names I do not remember, were in this group called like the Divas or Devil's Divas or something, and they were an online bullying group. So they got kicks out of bullying people just for no reason, no rhyme or reason. And they would give each other points based on how bad the taunt went. Mm-hmm. And I guess come to find out that Kendall bullied someone so badly that they killed themselves. So she was the reigning Devil's Diva or whatever, but I guess she was also an alcoholic.
Yes, she was going through a 12-step program.
She went through a 12-step program, again, when she was 18 or 19 or something, and decided she was going to repent or try to repent for all of the ill she had caused by being in this bullying group. And when she went to do that, she revealed that she was the reason that girl killed herself, and the girl who killed herself, guess who her sister was?
It was Roxanne's sister.
And Roxanne, the grad student, is the one who killed Kendall.
Yeah, quick aside here. I want to say, I flipped to the part of the book. The gloves were mailed to Alexis as, under Linda's name, and then threatening Alexis. So Alexis thought it was Linda who sent her the gloves, so she just planted the gloves back in Linda's dorm to get her arrested and, take the threat off of her, because if Linda was threatening to kill her and she's arrested for the murder, then it's 2 birds with 1 stone. Come to find out, it was really Roxanne that sent the gloves to Alexis. I suppose her plan was to set Linda up for it. I don't understand why she had to set Linda up for it.
Yeah, I think they even talked about that. Why would you set up the person who's helping you with your thesis? But again, this whole thing doesn't really make a lot of sense. I agree that it makes sense that, if you found out that someone bullied your sibling into killing themselves, you'd be really mad, and some people might break with reality and try to kill that person. I get it. But all the rest of the stuff that leads to that,
this ties off is such a sloppy knot.
Yeah, it's...
So, first of all, there's the whole, why would Roxanne send it to the person that, she supposedly she needs around to do all the data crunching? I think that's, maybe a 4D, 5D chess move where it's it'll take suspicion off me, because obviously I wouldn't have done that if I was a rational person and trying, actually the murderer. But then the next step that sort of makes this whole thing super messy is that Sid and Georgia are figure it out that Roxanne was the one that really did it through all these internet sleuthing things that Sid did. And they go downstairs to tell the family, we're going to go confront Roxanne, except she's downstairs currently with her mom and Linda trying to finish off her thesis. And before Georgia can say anything, she pulls a fucking gun on everyone.
Yeah,
and confesses that is you're all gonna help me finish this shit right now.
You're all gonna help me finish this thesis, or I'm gonna cap these professors.
Hands up, motherfuckers! This is a stick up.
This is a thesis stick up.
All right, you're gonna write me an abstract. You're gonna crunch some numbers. You're gonna get me some motherfucking snacks. And if anyone moves, it's all over.
And if you don't finish that bibliography in 2 hours,
you're gonna get it.
And I think somebody, even at some point, one of the family who's being held hostage is so what's your plan right now?
No, Georgia just thinks that. She's what's going to happen? You can't just walk out of here without murdering all of us. And then if you do murder all of us, you can't just hand in your dissertation, because it'll be pretty obvious, maybe.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that this was disqualifying.
I'm here to defend my thesis. Click, click.
I'm here to defend my thesis. Don't mind those people. They're just my hostages.
No, you're all going to listen to my thesis now, or you're all going to get... She's just going to point a gun at everyone that she comes in contact with for the rest of her life is the plan, I suppose.
Look, man, academia is tough, all right? Like, that shit can break you.
And she even refers to, like, the murder of Kendall as, like, a distraction because she's so, like... But so, like, it didn't mean that much to her, but she still did it?
Yeah. Oh, and then, like, it doesn't even make sense. So, of course, at an opportune moment, like, the cops show up and, like, Sid tackles Roxanne and gets the gun, but everyone moves in like, such a matrixy way to, like, cover up the skeleton visually, and no one sees
Sid grabs
him.
Roxanne from, like, behind... and, like, wrestles the gun from her, and then, like, then I forget how he... Oh, it's because, like, when they throw Roxanne to the ground, Georgia shouts armoire out loud, which is the cue for Sid to just run into, like, this armoire in the side of the living room, and then Roxanne is still being held by, like, the rest of the family, and no one has noticed the skeleton, or I guess the very bony skeleton sounds that would be occurring, because his bony skeleton sounds sure are mentioned a lot in the book, too.
Right. How do you hide something that's constantly, like, clicketing and clacketing, like, clickety-clackety? Oh, my God, it's like Last Halloween with the Crabs book. Clickety-clackety. But seriously, it would make so much noise. I don't know. And then so the cops show up, and their excuse for why the cops show up was, like... someone asked to text someone else.
Georgia is like, let me text Madison and tell her not to come home so that she doesn't get caught up in this and you don't have one more hostage to deal with.
Right.
And in the text, she says, it's like a coded message where she says, oh, you should stay at your friend's house. Me, mom, and dad are going to do blah, blah, blah. And the reason it's a code is because Georgia has never referred to her dad as dad. She refers to him as Phil all the time because of some joke where she was a kid and, like, she was helping him at his school or something, and she heard all the other professors call him Phil. So she was like, I'm going to be his colleague one day too, so I'll call him Phil. And it was a cute, haha, funny, quirky thing, wholesome family shit to shove into the skeleton family mystery.
Yes. So, and honestly, I don't think that anyone would have known that to call the police if you used a different word for someone.
It's weird that you would say dad, but why is that your cue to go, obviously my family is being held hostage at gunpoint to write a thesis?
Exactly. right. Like, obviously I must call the police. Like, what? Yeah, I didn't. And then like, to tie it all in a particularly neat bow, she fucks the carny in the trailer, but it's like fade to black. It's very only lightly suggested.
Yeah, and it's a family skeleton mystery, but then there's hardcore carny fucking pornography at the end.
No, it's an optional section. You have to, like, pull it out from
behind
an envelope.
The curtain. There's a small curtain on one chapter that you have to pull back.
There's a literal envelope, literal curtain. No, and then the particularly neat bow at the end is, like, the haunted house building ends up getting turned into offices for all the adjuncts. So, like, that background problem of all the adjunct professors being sad and not having offices gets solved too. And I was just
also, there's kind of a side thing where Brownie's dad is the missing McQuaid heir.
Oh, yeah,
because
I forgot about that.
Drama.
Right, and so
doesn't really matter.
Brownie and his dad, the missing McQuaid heir, were also suspects at one point because, again, this is just like an SVU episode. I feel like this book, it's like a shitty Nancy Drew for suburban moms who are, like, buying Halloween candy. Like, if you're in the checkout aisle around, in October and you're like, oh, I guess I'll read the skeleton mystery. Like, if you really need a clean, wholesome murder book.
And you want to share it with, like, let's say you're a single mom who has a daughter that you want to share a funny, quirky mystery Halloween style with.
And you also don't care if a book ends in a way that makes any sense. I guess this
kind of key part there.
This is here for you. I don't know. I never felt interested or invested in any of the characters. It wasn't compelling, and honestly, it was too long for how little substance it contained. Like, they easily could have cut 100 pages from this. Like,
you could have trimmed out the whole secret McQuaid heir thing, and like, maybe questioned, like, there's a scene where they're following a ninja around Brownie's carnival because he was one of the people that walked off from the original crime scene night, and they were like, oh, maybe it's this ninja or something, and it's a complete red herring that doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
For a second, they think it was like the campus security guard.
Yeah, I mean, and like, I get that, you know, obviously real murder mysteries, that's going to happen where you follow leads and sometimes they don't end up with anything. Like, you know, you have a bunch of suspects and you have to narrow it down, but yeah, I don't know. It just
could have been a little less dicking around.
This book is just not for me. I don't know.
For me, a solid 5 out of 10. Just right down the middle. Like, it's fine, I guess.
That's pretty high. That's pretty high, Chris.
Listen, like it was really like the dialogue that kind of saved it, and Sid in general. I can't really give you personality traits for much of the characters because you can describe them in 5 words or less. That's mostly their occupation, right? Yeah. Like Georgia is the protagonist and a college professor / mystery sleuth. Her sister is the haunt runner and kind of like they have a tenuous relationship sometimes.
Right.
Then her parents are professors. That's it. Her daughter is there. Right?
Yep. Yep.
So, and like Sid's the one with the most personality, and that's just because he's a living fucking skeleton that's quippy. So, I appreciate some of his quippiness here and there, but only in the way where, like, I was, like, mentally exhaling through my nose, not actually. You know when you read something a little bit funny and you're like...
Yeah.
Imagine that, but not even enough to, like, do it out loud. It was kind of enough in my head. And it was, like, barely entertaining a little bit, kind of. And that's why this, to me, is a solid just 5 out of 10.
Yeah. I don't know if I could give it a rating, but I certainly wouldn't read this, and I wouldn't recommend anyone else read it.
If I was trapped on a 15-hour flight and I had nothing else to do, and for some reason I had this, I would have been fine with using this as a way to kill 3 or 4 hours. But aside from that, nah.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I think that this just isn't the kind of book for me. I don't know. I did point out some stuff that I thought was kind of sloppy about it, but it's just not. I don't know. I know a lot of people like these kind of things, but I'm all set. I just think that if you're looking for some kind of engrossing mystery, there are far better options out there.
Sure.
So if we're talking about like
there's so many mystery books that this is just one of those taking up space next to the other mystery books that are probably better. This is the thing you have to push aside to get to the good stuff. Yeah,
like, look, dude, these fucking, like, supermarket mysteries are a plague upon the earth. Like, no one needs to write them. No one needs to read them. They contribute nothing. Like, look, man, not everything has to be highbrow, but it needs to hold my attention. It has to give me some kind of entertainment or knowledge. I just don't know who would genuinely find this entertaining. Like, I know there are people out there that would. So, again, I don't want to sit here and say this book is, like, absolutely irredeemably terrible, but, like, it doesn't add anything. Like whether this book exists or not matters not, right? Like it doesn't.
I mean, like I was thinking about, like I guess we can do our "can we fix it" kind of a thing here, which is I suppose what we were doing anyway. But if you used Sid for something more than being an eavesdropping tool and quip machine / internet research, like he's more of a plot device than a character. He's a plot device that makes quips.
Yeah.
And maybe if you had the murder, like, come out and reveal themselves in a way less stupid way than just, all you fuckers better write this thesis because goddamn it needs to get written. Yeah. And I'm crazy because I'm so wrapped up in my thesis writing. I'm a naughty lady. Yeah,
I just didn't like any of it. Like, just wasn't for me.
There's not much. I mean, let me ask you, how about this? Here's a good way to sort of like wrap. If you had to live with some kind of like other, like, you know, supernatural entity, if you had to grow up with a supernatural entity in your family, what would you go with?
I don't know, man. Can this be multiple choice?
Okay.
My brain is tired.
Okay, I guess just skeleton, vampire, werewolf, Medusa, Frankenstein, a ghost.
I don't know. Werewolf might be kind of fun because then you got like a big dog sometimes.
But he's like a mean big dog.
Yeah, whatever. He's mean to other people, not me, right? That's the plan.
I guess maybe. Okay, we'll assume that they're all wholesome versions that aren't going to attack you. Yeah,
that's what I mean. Like, you get this big old dog when you don't, and then you got a friend too sometimes. It's like double friend.
Yeah, I guess that's true. You know what? That's a pretty good argument. I think Ghost is okay too.
Yeah, I'd be fine with Ghost.
Like, especially if it's like a ghost you can talk to. Because, like, I'm assuming this is also a ghost that can kind of go do their own thing out there and maybe turn invisible sometimes. Because they can entertain themselves, and maybe you could have a little bit of fun with, like, some cool special effects videos or something. Or, like, you know, a vampire, I think, would just get, like, you would have to keep feeding them all the time. And that's, like, a whole pain in of itself.
Yeah, that's true.
Frankenstein is like the monster, not the doctor. Like, he doesn't really seem like he's up for a lot of good conversation.
What if it is the doctor, though?
It's just like you have a mad scientist living with you that keeps trying to do like horrible shit all the time. That's just Rick and Morty, right? That's just Rick and Morty.
Oh yeah, you're right. It is. It's just Rick.
That's just Rick and Morty.
All right, so Skeleton Haunts a House, not great, not the worst thing. Probably don't read it. Don't read this unless you have a very specific need for skeleton related wholesome mystery.
Family skeleton.
Very specific.
You know what? I'm going to do a quick Google right now, Paris.
Oh, Chris,
and see if there are skeleton mysteries.
Well, there's this series, but I don't think there's anything beyond. I'm sure there's like Halloween themed ones.
Yeah, actually this series is the first thing that comes up. So
yeah.
You know what? She's really filling that niche, let me tell you. In fact, it's the only thing on Google's first page. I
mean, I will say the living skeleton helping a professor solve mysteries does seem like a pretty original idea. Not a great one, but original.
Like, I just wish she did more with it.
Yeah. I wish it. I don't know. Maybe my distaste comes from just this being not a thing. It just doesn't hit any. It doesn't check any boxes for me. But it's also because we're coming into the series like 3 books in. But anyway, I don't know. Do we before we close out the show, Chris? Do we want to do like Paris and Chris updates?
I mean, not much has changed since the last episode. I think I'm still working on like a bunch of music projects here and there. I don't think I've told the podcast about my side project I'm working on.
Oh yeah,
which might be embarrassing in some ways.
Chris, we do a book club podcast.
That's true.
I mean, we're nerds of the highest caliber.
This is a step. This is another step down the hole. So close listeners to the podcast might have picked up that I still watch the odd episode of Power Rangers here and there, since my brother's a fan, and I even went to the Power Rangers convention in LA last summer. That's how far down the rabbit hole I'll go. Those suits are pretty cool to see up close, man, and there's a bunch of other cool stuff involved. Like, I got to meet the composer for like that original theme song that everyone is like really super into, and there was a couple other fun things happening there. But anyway, so I decided, speaking of niches that need to be filled, that perhaps don't need to be filled, I'm a heavy metal musician, and I've been involved in a bunch of projects, and I kind of want to do something a little bit silly, and so I can put myself in a headspace where I'm not trying to write the most cerebral music or anything. I'm just trying to get like a mood or a feeling across that's like half serious, half silly. So I'm doing an EP of Power Rangers death metal. I've got 4 tracks written. I just finished the last like instrumental demo today. I got to write lyrics for it, and then it'll be into the production phase. And I've got a bunch of local vocalists helping me out with this, and there was pretty good response to my initial postings about it. So
people seem pretty excited about it. I think it'll be fun. I think people are into it.
I got some really great local talent. I got the former lead vocalist for Pathogenic. He doesn't do vocals for them anymore. I've got a friend of mine who's in my D&D group who does pretty great vocals that is also joining us. And then also one of my favorite artists out there, Heavy Hand Illustration, Mark Richards, supposedly going to do his best Goldar impression for me.
Dude, I'm pretty excited for that. Mark's a cool dude.
He's also supposedly doing the art for me, but that's kind of like last on his giant commission list, so we'll see. But I'm pretty excited about it. It's gotten better response than I thought it would, even in just the preliminary stages. So hopefully I cook up something that's worthy of that interest, and hopefully y'all will be a little interested in it too.
Oh yeah, I'm sure somebody will be interested in that. That's cool. So yeah, keep your ears open for fucking Chris's Power Ranger nostalgia death metal.
It's called Scourge of Eltar. And
there you go.
You probably have to know some Power Rangers lore to get that, but you know.
Yeah. Fun. Let's see.
What's up with you?
Well, my band sold out of our latest release, so that was
Hooray!
Cool.
Yay!
I mean, we did a small run of cassettes, so you know, it's not like
I can't believe cassettes sold out.
Yeah. Hey man, heavy metal. We love cassettes. But yeah, I mean, it was a short run. It's not like it's a huge deal, but I'm really pleased with how well the EP was received. You know, given that we
critically acclaimed.
Let's not get too crazy, but you know, people wrote some nice stuff about it.
Critics who acclaimed it.
There were people that wrote some nice things about it. That's true. But yeah, it was just nice. You know, we didn't hire a PR company. We didn't buy any ads, and we're not on a label. So, you know, the fact that we got so many nice reviews and sold out of the tapes was great. We still got some merch left. So I don't know if you give a shit about heavy metal, check out the merch that we have. It's band is called Concilium. You can find us online on Bandcamp. But anyway, there's that.
I did buy ads and things for my band's last album, and I got none of that. So congratulations to you for saving the money.
Sorry, Chris. Well,
that means you did a good job. That means you did a good job. That's
yes,
all.
But our bands also exist in very, very separate scenes. Like, I'm in an epic doom, epic heavy metal band. Krista is more like technical death metalcore. I don't really know if that's a cool thing to say anymore.
Yeah, who knows? We're like partially deathcore, partially Black Dahlia murder worship, partially a little bit of like melodic hardcore in some sense.
Right.
Like, I'm not trying to stick to anything.
No, but I guess what I'm saying is like they're very, very different arenas. So
yeah,
what works for one may not work for the other. Anyway. Otherwise, I don't remember if I talked about hiking on the last show. Did I?
Not much, I think.
No. So I've done. I don't know. Somehow, the last month, I've hiked 2 mountains, so that was fun. We did. One of my guitarists is like an avid hiker, and so I went with him. And some other friends. We did Mount Moosilauke in New Hampshire. We went up Beaverbrook Trail, which was really steep and up a bunch of waterfalls, and it was really cool. It was difficult but fun. And then this past weekend we went backpacking, so we went up Mount Isolation in New Hampshire. We went up Glen Boulder Trail, which was also very steep and difficult. And it was great, though, because there was some legitimate, like, scrambling, you know, like some minor rock climbing, which I loved. Yeah, I don't know. I never, ever thought I would be a person who would climb mountains and rock climb, but here I am. There's some pictures that I'll post maybe on Twitter and the Instagram. Yeah, so you can see me. You can see me climbing some rocks with some friends. But it was a really great experience, and it's difficult. But you know, the people with me were patient and supportive of you know, me being kind of a novice at this. But I will say, if you are planning on hiking anything with some steep inclines, going to the rock gym a few times beforehand, very helpful. Very helpful, so you don't feel like you're gonna die. There's some good moments, like this past weekend when we camped up near the summit of Mount Isolation. We ended up at this site with a bunch of other people because that mountain doesn't really have there's not many places you can camp, and by camp I mean there's just like an area like that is designated for you to camp. There's no like facilities, right? It's just
ramshackle wooden sign with camp hand painted and someone's blood on it.
No, thankfully. And you know, and backpacking is like you have to bring all your shit with you, so we were doing this with like fairly heavy packs. Anyway, we ended up at a camp with these dudes from Rhode Island, and they were so fucking nice. They had a fire going. They let us share their fire. They had you know, some other stuff they shared with us. You know. Chris, why are you making a weird sound?
I'm just trying to figure out because I know things you partake in that you wouldn't have to.
I would not have partaken in this, but other people did.
All right, I understand.
Yeah. And you know, it was nice. Like, it only rained a tiny bit right before we got to the camp. We did the summit in the morning just because we had a long day, and it had started raining a little bit, and it was getting dark by the time we camped, so we just did the summit the next day, and the summit was like a mile from camp, so it wasn't bad. But yeah, I mean, it was gorgeous. The foliage was just beautiful. Yeah, I don't know. It's just something that I guess I wouldn't really think that I would like. If you would have told 20-year-old Paris that 30-year-old Paris was fucking literally climbing mountains, like climbing rocks on a mountain, I would have been like, fuck you, no.
Hey, if you told 20-year-old Chris that he'd be writing Power Rangers death metal in his spare time and doing a book podcast with his best friend about bad books, he probably wouldn't have believed you either. So, Yeah,
right. Like, if somebody was like, hey, you're going to be doing this long-running podcast.
I knew you. We knew each other when we were 20.
Oh, that's true. Oh, my God. This is gross. How old am I?
That was like the year one of our friendship.
Yeah, because Chris and I met the first day of college. Fun fact. We've known each other for a long time.
Yes. Oh, well, that's kind of like the skeleton and her college professor, his college professor friend. So that means I have to fucking die, and you have to skin me alive, and then I can sit on the internet even longer than I already do.
Oh my God, Chris, is that why you have such an affinity for Sid?
Oh no.
Because
it's me.
It's you.
I am the skeleton.
You're the skeleton in the attic on the computer at all hours of the day.
That says quips.
It's
me. God damn it.
Oh, no.
Wait. That means I'm immortal.
Yeah, dude. That's fucking rad.
Awesome.
Embrace your immortality.
You also know that this means you're going to have to do the thing that happens in this book where you wash the inside of my skull, which seems like a really intimate thing. Doesn't it not? Does it not seem like that's kind of a sex thing?
No. That's like one of those things that's like weirdly intimate but not sex, and you're just oh, it's still weird.
Yeah.
Like giving someone a massage, also like weirdly intimate but not sex. Like there's so many things like that.
Sure. Like if you gave me a massage, I wouldn't be completely creeped out, but just a little.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't want to. That's the thing. Like
yes.
I mean, unless it was a situation where you were like,
God,
I'm in excruciating pain, and your hands are the only hands in this general vicinity that can alleviate. Or
perhaps if you were literally a licensed massage therapist and I paid you for your services.
Right, that's true.
But that's about it.
Yeah, it's like yeah, so other than
I guess me finding out that I'm a living skeleton with meat surrounding me.
Yeah, I mean, we're all living skeletons, Chris.
Yeah, but me extra.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, other
extra
than
big skeleton energy, big bone energy.
Big bone energy. Yeah, so I guess other than my recent affinity for climbing mountains and stuff, and the band thing doing all right, yeah, I think that's about it. Oh yeah, I started running outside again too, which is good. It's shitty running. It's not great. Like, I'm just running intervals right now with my friend Justin, because we're both shitty enough to run together. Everyone else in our friend group is like too good of a runner to run with either of us. So
if you were close, I would join you on those, because I don't think I've ever gone on a run in my entire life. Well,
I gotta say, you gotta do it at some point. It's way more enjoyable to run outside than the gym. I think I'm gonna cancel my gym membership, actually.
I do a stationary bike at home because I don't have like even good shoes for running, I think. So
Yeah, you gotta get good shoes or you're gonna hurt yourself. But yeah. I think that's it. So thanks to Kristina for recommending this book. Thank you so much for supporting the show and for being a great friend. Hope everything is cool with you in Colorado, Kristina. She's over there doing some cool grad school stuff. So
please don't hold anyone hostage for your dissertation when you're done. Please.
Yeah, Kristina, don't use this book as a guide for how to finish your fucking thesis. No, I don't think that would happen. Anyway, thank you to our Patreon supporters. So thank you, Dari, Greg, Will, Veronica, Dee, Jared, Lynn, Sinna, Jakub, Torben, aka Duck King, Bobby Blackcat, Ayame, Jensina, Mayo Cat, and our newest patron, Elliot. Yay, welcome, Elliot. Thanks a lot for your support.
Thank you.
Hopefully you are enjoying all of that back Patreon content. There is a shit ton of it. If you too want to help support the show, you can do one of 4 things. So you can also become a patron by heading over to patreon.com/join/terriblebookclub. You can join at the $5 a month level or higher and see special video segments that we do. And you can also download audio tracks where Chris and I watch movies or TV show companions to books that we've read on the podcast. You can listen to the show on the Radio Public app. This will help passively generate income for the show. So if you can't or are unwilling to give us money directly, you can give us money indirectly by listening to us on that app specifically. Every time you listen to us, we get 2 cents and an extra $1 bonus if you listen to 3 episodes in a row. So you can download the app, listen to 3 episodes, and fucking delete it. Whatever. You gave us $1. Thanks. You can also share episodes and links to the show on social media, or just tell a friend. Finally, you can always leave us a review on iTunes or some other platform. Again, I've been seeing more of those lately, so thank you very much to everyone who's done that. It's helpful. You know, people see a good review and it makes them more likely to listen to the show. So
I saw the one that mentioned that they laughed their nips off.
yeah, that was good.
So I'm sorry about that. I hope their surgery wasn't too expensive.
And just remember that we enjoy interacting with you. So, feel free to reach out to us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Goodreads, or you can always send an email to terriblebookclub@gmail.com. Since it is October, we are going to continue doing our spooky books this month. So the next 2 episodes, I think, are going to be kind of spooky Halloween themed books. So we hope you enjoy. The next one's going to be, super not safe for work and super bizarre.
Yeah, it's episode 69, so get ready, y'all. For some nice times.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, like this episode was nothing.
Yeah, we're going to go in completely the opposite direction of wholesome next time. Get all that wholesome energy out now, because...
yeah. Well, thanks for joining us. And,
I remember, actually, just to illustrate to our listeners the extent of this, I was at your place when you were handing this off to me, and we were doing some other TBC-related stuff. And I happened to open the next book to a random page, and I had to set it down immediately and ask you if you knew about a specific fetish.
Yeah, and I didn't know.
So, Paris is going to learn about some new stuff.
Oh, great. Can't wait. Ugh. Anyway, all right. Well, thanks for visiting us on this very mild episode, and maybe just really prepare yourself mentally for the next one.
Yeah. Just buckle down as much as you can.
Yeah. So with that, we leave you. We wish you a spoopy October, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right. Bye, Paris.
Bye, Chris.